Hello siblings, welcome to Scout the Pages. Today we are going to be talking about all of the Audible originals that I have listened to over the last few years and if I think that they're worth it.
Baby, can you see the snow? Wherever you are, boy, I need to know if I'm on your mind, like you stay in mine. Cause Christmas ain't the same here without you. Just another mistletoe that I can't stand, cause I'm on my own by the fireside. I'm so cold inside, cause Christmas ain't the same here without you, baby.
For some context, I subscribed to an Audible subscription for a little while about a few years ago, and then I occasionally will jump back on as there are sales. I never pay full price for the monthly fee. I only ever join when it's about $4 to $9, I would say. Your account resets every 6 months after you cancel. And after that 6 months, you can do their discounted trial for 3 months at like $5 a month or something like that. I can't remember the exact prices, I'll put it up here. During those rare months when I do have Audible, I listen to Audible originals just to give them a chance. I'm curious, and sometimes they seem really interesting. So today we're going to be talking about all of the Audible originals that I have listened to over the last few years. These aren't in any specific order, it's kind of like ones I read recently and then ones that I went back and looked for because honestly, a lot of them were forgettable. So let's talk about each one really quick, and then I'll give my thoughts on Audible originals at the end of this. First, we have Camp Red Moon, which I gave 3 stars. This is a collection of 4 spooky tales revolving around this Red Moon camp. I thought it was one long book, but it is not. It is a collection of little short stories about the same camp. And I have to say, I gave it 3 stars because 1, it was enjoyable. It was a solid listen. I think it's a great family listen if you need something scary and your kids aren't familiar with R.L. Stine. It was a great little spooky adventure, I would say. But I will say, as someone who has grown up reading and watching R.L. Stine's stories, this felt recycled to me. I feel like I have read these stories before. I feel like these plot twists have been used in his other works in the past, so it didn't feel very original and it just kind of felt tired, honestly. I gave this 3 stars mostly because it wasn't a waste of my time. It was a nice way to spend my time listening to them. They're pretty short, but ultimately not very original. Next we have House of Teeth, which I gave 3 stars as well, but I did actually really enjoy the first half of this book. I was really invested. I thought it was really fascinating, and overall I was really enjoying it, but it got weirder and weirder in the second half. Weird and like odd things were happening. The ending left me kind of feeling like, what was this? What was the point? Why did it have to go this direction? It just got kind of absurd, but not in a theater of the absurd interesting way, in a why are we doing this kind of way. I liked the family messages and family tones. I loved that it was not siblings but cousins instead, and their love for each other was really cute. It felt realistic. They bickered. It was nice. The story though was not realistic. The whole like plot twist and everything that happened in this book was really bizarre, and I don't know that I would say in a good way. So overall, this was a very solid family listen. I would definitely listen to this in the car with a kid, but ultimately I wouldn't go searching for this as an adult looking for audiobooks just for you. Next we have the 2 Flying Flamingo Sisters books. I'm gonna give this duology overall a 3 star, even though I think it's not even a duology. I think there's gonna be more books at some point. I'm not gonna continue. I really enjoyed the first one. Villain is so unbelievably cringe, and the sisters are pretty unrealistic. Although they do bicker, there's definitely a lot of suspension of disbelief because of what is happening around these 3 girls. I like their relationship. I like how unique each of their personalities are. I love the feminine power. Absolutely here for it. An excellent family listen. It's kind of funny, it's cringe, it's predictable, but it's a good time and a good journey to follow. I feel like the second book, the plot really gets kind of weird and convoluted, but if you're there for the experience, you're there for the experience. The villain is just really ultimately cringe, and that's my main issue with it. Then we have Ghost Sitter, which I gave 2 stars. I really did not like this book. It was very frustrating. The main character is left in the dark about everything. Nobody will tell him what is going on. It's just extremely frustrating. He's asking dumb questions when there are more important questions to be asking, and nobody will even answer the dumb questions. So ultimately, very frustrating. I would not recommend this book. The storytelling and the writing was below average for sure, and there were some weird religious tones in the second half of the book. For example, using Catholic mythology in the way that this like magic and monster stuff worked, but it was really random and like surface level. You just, not even like scratching the surface, it's just the surface, and they make like 2 lines of commentary in the whole book, and they're not good ones. It's just kind of a statement. So ultimately I would pass. This has no craft to it. It was really random. I didn't like most of it, and it was just absurd overall. I didn't even find it funny. I wouldn't recommend this as a family read personally. And then we have the first 2 books in the Weirdies series. I gave this 3 stars. It lives up to the title. It is definitely weird and bizarre and strange, but I personally found it to be quite fun to listen to. I think it's a great family listen. It's weird, it's quirky, it's definitely tongue-in-cheek and being as weird as possible, and you can feel that. It's not quality literature or anything, but I think the messages are nice, and it definitely is what it says it is. It is weird. Next we have Interview with a Robot, which I gave 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed this listen. I think it was super well narrated. The sound effects were great. The story was interesting. The plot was interesting. It was predictable. I did know what was going to happen, but how we got there was fascinating. It wasn't the most unique plot premise that I could think of, but I thoroughly enjoyed the whole listen, and I would recommend this for a family listen. Next, we have the first book in the Viva Durant series. This is The Secret of the Silver Buttons. This was super cute. The vibes are on point. I love these. I'm going to continue with the series. I gave this 4 stars. Very cinematic, a nice little cozy mystery in the South following a girl who just gets things done, solves a mystery. She's fun. I really enjoyed it personally, and I liked the grandma a lot. Next we have The Messengers. I gave this 3 stars. I really loved this premise, and it was very intriguing. It was fun. The sound effects and all of the voice acting was very cinematic. It was like a movie in your head, but it would be better as a full-length novel. It was just too short. There's a lot of content to work with, but we barely scratched that surface in this book. It's just too short. I would rather have read a full-length sci-fi novel because this was absolutely fascinating. So I give it 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it really left me with this uncomfortable feeling of I feel like I deserved more and I was robbed. Excellent premise, excellent experience, but ultimately it wasn't enough, and it left me feeling empty. And lastly, we have The Mountain and the Sea. I gave this 2 stars, and I think that's kind of generous, to be honest with you. I read this many years ago, expecting it to be a spicy middle-aged romance. It was not that. Let me just put that out there. It was a very strange romance amongst middle-aged people with an alarming plot twist, and not in a good way, in a I feel dirty kind of way. It felt wrong. It was just like bad people around more bad people. It's giving Sally Rooney, in my opinion, like a bunch of characters you don't like doing things that you don't think are clean. They feel wrong. I did not enjoy this, and it didn't have anything going for it. I didn't like the characters, the plot, the world, nothing, and it didn't even have spice. So ultimately, I would absolutely not recommend this book. It was so random. The only positive thing I could say about this book is I liked the culture in it. I liked the cultural background of the characters and where it took place, and I liked the narrator that they chose for it. The narrator did an excellent job in her performance, but everything else is a no, so I would not recommend this one. And those are my flash reviews for all of the originals that I've read on Audible. They were interesting. I overall would think my experience with Audible originals is that it's worth trying them because they're generally pretty short, but I would be cautious and be open to DNFing very quickly because I have definitely hit some duds in this list, and I would not recommend some of them, although I feel like I did enjoy the ones that I read. Like, I found a few books that I enjoyed and series that I enjoyed and would recommend to others. Ultimately, I think Audible originals are really good for family car listens for a road trip or just long drives in general. If you have kids in that 6 years old up to 12, it's a good place to find a large collection of family listens that are going to be at least solid. not a waste of time. I hope that was helpful. If you have any recommendations for more Audible originals down below that you think I would enjoy, that were a hit for you, save me some time. Let me know which ones are good. I will listen to them and make a part 2 when I have enough of these collected under my belt once again. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and stay kind, siblings. I'll see you in the next one.